Hi guys, thanks for coming to check out this video. So today I'm going to be setting up my weeklies, and if you want to see and learn some interesting facts about this beautiful country, then stick around. So the first weekly spread I decided to devote to skiing. Now, some of the sites I researched actually said that Norway is the originator of skiing, the inventor of it. I'm not sure how accurate that is, so I won't say it for sure, but they definitely are one of the earliest. And the word skiing is actually coming from a Norwegian word for ski called skid in their language, which basically means a giant wood stick. Loosely translated, of course. So I found that really interesting, that skiing actually basically originated here. And it's obviously one of the best places to ski with its beautiful long winters and amazing mountain ranges everywhere. So yeah, definitely a spot to go if you're a skier. I personally have never even seen snow before, and I don't know how I'd go on skiing, but it's definitely something I want to try, so I wanted to put that in my journal. There's actually a place in Norway called the Lillehammer Olympic Village, and this was where the winter 1994 Olympics were held. And at this place, there is actually a bobsled ride that you can go on, and it takes you up to speeds of 100 kilometers per hour down this ride, which I thought just sounded incredible. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that. I can barely get on a roller coaster myself, but I'd like to think that if I was in Norway, I would give it a go. So yeah, very interesting place, and if you're into the winter sports, this is definitely should be on your bucket list. So as to how I'm drawing this in my journal, I love to keep my weekly spreads quite simple. If you've watched me before, you know I love a bit of gold in here. So my weeklies, I just use my fine liner, my gold, and a little bit of a white gel pen as well. And then I just draw it out quite basically using just the lines, and then any shading, I add some hatching or cross hatching. Just to try and give it a little bit of interest and some depth, but without getting too detailed into the actual drawing part. And this is how the first weekly page turned out. And now we'll move on to the next page. Now this next one, I wanted to focus on the fjords. If you saw my full setup for this month, I talked about how I could not leave the fjords out of my setup. I did miss them in the beginning, but I needed to save them for this weekly spread. I didn't really know how to draw them so much, so I was hoping that this would work. I kind of had the idea of doing the water as gold, like all gold, and then have just cross-hatching and dark mountain. So Norway has an incredible 1,190 fjords in the area of Norway and Svalbard Islands. If you're not familiar with what a fjord is, it's actually a long, deep, narrow body of water that basically has steep walls of rock going up the sides of them. So they would be incredible to go through. And there's some videos that I found that I'll link to in the description box if you want to see some footage of the fjords in Norway. They're just amazing. They're out of this world, so I really hope I can get to see them one day. And I thought I would sketch out one of them called the I have no idea how to say this one, Sunnilsfjorden, maybe. And yeah, this one has a beautiful waterfall that comes from the top of the side of the rock down straight into the river below. So it looks really impressive, and I thought I would do all that in gold. And the rest in my black, and just cross-hatching to give some depth. And then we are moving on to the next one. Okay, this next page is focused on the Arctic Cathedral in Tromsø. Now this is definitely the most impressive church I have ever seen. I just found it unbelievable that there's this massive steepled church, very modern looking, right in front of this lovely village and the snow-capped mountains in the background. I was just so fascinated by the way it looked that I had to include this. I was really getting into using the calligraphy on this page, and I wrote the words in I feel like they're kind of Norwegian-inspired fonts. I do try my best to make them feel like the country that I'm visiting. So to me, this says Norway, this long kind of cursive font. So I've added that, and I've used a lot of gold on here to represent the trees and the borders, just keeping that splash of color in there. I think it makes all the difference in the end. And I've also done the mountains in a different way in the background. I've just used like little hashes, little scratches to represent kind of the trees and the line form in the mountains behind. So I think it turned out really nice, and it was quite a nice lead in to my next page. Now this one has 8 days on it because the next page is actually going to be a Christmas gifts list as we're heading into the Christmas month. So I didn't actually need that 5th week. I've just compiled the 4th week with an extra day, and then it gives me a spare page to now write down a gift list so that I can get started on my Christmas shopping. So what worked out really well for this page is that there was 2 very Christmassy related facts that I found out about Norway. I didn't realize that the giant Christmas tree in the middle of Trafalgar Square is actually donated by Norway every year. And that's because they're basically saying thank you for Britain's help during the World War II. So I thought that was a lovely little nice gem of information. So that giant tree is actually a Norwegian spruce. So that is what I have drawn here to get me started on this Christmas page. And then I decided to surround it with some more Aurora Borealis like I did in my original setup, and then include a couple of reindeer. Norway, especially Tromsø, is one of the best spots to actually see wild reindeer. And they have about 35,000 of them across Norway. I would absolutely adore to see these guys in the wild. And there's actually this experience that you can go to as well, where you actually learn quite a bit about the Sami culture. The Sami, I don't think I'm saying that right. They're the indigenous people who live in the northern parts of Norway and are renowned for being reindeer herders. So you can actually experience a bit of the way of life and their history and their culture and what they do. I'm just fascinated that they still live like this and in huts and are just so embedded in the tradition that they want to share it with others. I think it's fantastic, and it looks like such a great experience too. I think you get to feed the reindeer, you get to sleigh ride with them, and then you just get to experience the way they eat and the way they sleep in these huts, and just sounds very, very cool. So it was nice to be able to share a little bit of that Christmas vibe in this month, and then that is our final page. So there was an incredible amount of inspiration from this beautiful Norway. I still wasn't able to capture it all, but I hope you do like the choices that I picked, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And now, as for next month, it'll be my last month of doing countries starting with the letter of each month. So we end with December on D. So if you guys can help me choose next month's theme, I'm going to put out the options of Denmark, Dominican Republic, or the last one, which is a little bit different, Deutschland, which is the German word for Germany. So let me know which one you want to see next month. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to press the like button. And if you could please share it with one other person to help build this community, it would be much appreciated. And then don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.